This is the Slide of the Net podcast in association with the BFG podcast. Today, we are here to talk about Wellington Phoenix men and women versus Sydney FC from the past weekend. So, what did everyone think of the women's game?
Hard to stop smiling. Like even the day after, I felt 10 feet tall and bulletproof. It was just what an amazing game, and it just gave you such an amazing sense of wow, how good was that performance? How good was that team? And yeah, everything's good in the world. It was just I could have walked into the Breakers game and just sort of like just did I said felt 10 feet tall and bulletproof. So step out of the way, everybody. I got this. In reality, I'm 5'4", and yeah. But yeah, it was just such a great effort from everybody. I think I'll shut up and let some other people talk.
I mean, I agree. So Dean and I went to the game, of course. We didn't have a great turnout for the little corner of yellow, unfortunately, but I mean, the team says that they do hear us, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we are becoming more and more convinced that Dean and I are the common denominator of the wins, because we've been present for all 4 of the wins that the team has had. But yeah, it was we actually dominated the stats as well, which is not that common for us. And to dominate a team like Sydney FC is incredible. Like, they were missing a couple of key players, including their captain. Addison Haley was missing. Jada Wyman, their first keeper. But it's like we wanted it more. I don't know. It was one of the best performances I think I've ever seen from them. A lot of people had the best game that I had seen from them, like Rollo. I think that was her best game for us.
Yeah.
Mm.
They did it. They put in a shift, and they understood the assignment of how to beat Sydney. The coaching was very good, and they executed it, and they did it with patience, creativity, and confidence. They were like,
Oh yeah.
we don't care, this is your house, we're here. Like, it was nice to see them, even in the match, with some swagger. Like,
Yeah.
they honestly thought they could do it. I think they only played them 2 rounds ago, so they kind of knew what they were up against, and they kind of walked in and said, we can do this, and we have nothing to lose, and this is like the equivalent of our playoff match. This is the match that we want people to remember. And they have more matches to go. But they went in and they made a statement that we can work as a team, we can score, we can make big saves, we can cover for each other, we can really just have enough muscle, confidence, and execution. And they executed really well. And for me, the theme was a lot of things, but the free balls, they wanted them more.
Yep.
100% wanted them more. And they got those free balls.
I've got to note that there were no 50-50s. It was 80-20. We were just getting there first, and we really wanted it, and they were throwing themselves into those tackles, and sometimes you do that and you lose it. I think probably about 90% of the tackles we went into, we actually won. We just, as you say, they wanted it more. They were on fire, and it was magnificent to watch.
And they were also smart about it. They didn't get greedy. Like, if they not going to be able to strip the ball, I mean, Foster would just kick it out and just kick it out and just kick it out. Like, okay, we stopped the play. We don't have to like strip the ball, do something amazing, and then like lose it on the sideline. It was just they knew when to apply fundamentals, and then they knew when to apply like fire.
Yep. And the amount of times they decided to take on their marker and beat them was incredible. Just Mickey R would just sort of decide, okay, I'll go around her, and she did. It was just like, and then racing down the wing, and it was happening on both sides as well. It was just, it was, where has this been all season kind of thing? And from what I can see, and this is why I sort of said I'm feeling bulletproof, because I know that they're going to reproduce this performance now for the rest of this season. And going into next year, I think the formula is working.
It's
Like-
only gonna work if we can get a majority of the same players. But if we have to start again, we're gonna kind of fall backwards.
Yeah, I can't see us losing too many. Maybe Foster might get a big deal from overseas, perhaps, or something like that. We chatted to Rollo after the game, as you said, Holly. She had a really good game. Her comments was, "Look, finally I'm in the right position," and she had a storming game. Only offside twice as well, so that was another positive. I think she sort of worked out how that rule works, and but she had a storming game. Well, everybody did, but I think if you want to sort of talk about your A-League team of the week, and I think I mentioned this in chat, you just put up the photo of our lineup. You could fill that with 11 players and subs as well. Save your graphics team a job. Just put our lineup in.
One analogy I used did it look like that Sydney were on holiday.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of reminded me of the Ferns, like just this kind of, oh, this is all kind of happening around me, and how do I react? That first Ferns match. Sorry to bring that one up, but there was a little bit like, I wrote that they were leaderless, and they did say that on the broadcast, but I really felt that there was no person who I could see who was like, come on, like really like generaling out there. And teams do need that. Teams need multiple generals, but I didn't see enough of it. You were there. What did it feel like?
The captain was sent off last week.
Right.
So they were missing their regular captain, which I think was to our advantage.
Yep. Did it feel like they had leaders on the pitch?
I mean, I think they would be looking to Courtney Vine because she's one of the most experienced players. But look, as I say, when Mickey Foster gets to Customs in Wellington, has to declare that she's still got Courtney Vine in her pocket. That's going to be awkward. But I mean, we handled her. She was the big threat, and I think Sydney were going, "Oh yeah, great, Courtney's got the ball. Everything's going to be all right." But really, just the way she was marshaled by our defense was, like we handled her.
Yeah, I could tell, they were looking to her to get the ball to her. And some teams run their offenses through certain players just because they're like, okay, this player knows what to do with the ball, particularly in the final third. I know OL Rain will run it through Rapinoe and she'll like always get the ball. And it's just because she has good decision making. And I didn't even feel like they were making good decisions with the ball.
Yeah, because if you don't have an on-field leader, you perhaps look to your coach to be on the sideline and be vocal and stuff like that. But I didn't really hear the Sydney coach much at all. Did you, Hol?
He's a quiet guy.
Yeah. I mean, and some coaches are quiet. Like, I mean, Nat just sort of sits there, and Callum does all the standing and yelling. So coaches have different dynamics, but we were sitting further away from the Sydney bench, so it might not be that easy to hear.
It was good that Kate Taylor's mum and dad were there to see her daughter. I was going to say score the winning runs, kick the winning goal. That was great. So we had the Edwardses and the Taylors, and it's funny when your crowd's so small you can just about name everybody that's come. But
it was a small crowd. They didn't show it on TV, but it looked like 500 and something. So that's unfortunate. But let's talk about Kate Taylor. I mean, she had a match finally. Like, she had a goal, and that's cool. She really needed to pop out again. You know, she had last year and the beginning, you know, like she had like a name for herself and a brand, and you know, she got injured, and you know, it just kind of faded a little bit, and you know, had some difficulty when she was called up in one of the matches, and listen, she just popped that right in. I mean, Holly was like, I need someone who can smack the ball in, you know, who can really get a leg behind it. I know you were talking
Yep.
about like beyond the penalty area, but you know, Kate Taylor right there. She's like, here comes the ball. I'm going to take 2 steps back. I'm going to get my leg behind it, and I'm not going to sky it. I'm going to just put it right down, and she did it, you know, and it's not an easy thing to volley a ball. And she was, I mean, we all just went nuts when she did that.
It was amazing. It was such a sweetly struck volley as well.
It's easy to blaze those over the bar, really easy. So the fact that she had the patience and the technique to just let it drop far enough and to hit it right, it was great.
Yeah, she
Just
hit it solid.
Just to call out to Brie Edwards as well. That save she made, I think it was about 20 minutes gone.
There were 2 saves.
Yeah, Ali Green just
Huge.
That was in for all money. She punched it over the bar, and that set the tone for the rest of the game for everybody. I think. You thought.
Yeah,
You know
I thought it was a lob, but it was actually a little deflection, I think, and it was just like woo, woo,
Yep.
and I was like, oh no, and I think it was like slow motion. Everyone was like, oh no, and she just popped as hard as she could off of her line, got whatever on it, and sent it over the net, and it was a great save. I was really pleased with that. What did you think of our keepers, Blake?
They're good. She proving time and time again how good she is.
Yeah. Yeah. And she had a great game. If she didn't have a great game, we weren't going to win that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it wasn't like they were pounding her with shots, but she came up with important saves and important moments.
Yep.
I'm glad that she's been able to show this season how good of a keeper she actually is.
I'll be honest, I wasn't convinced at the beginning, and now I'm convinced that she is absolutely fantastic. You know, you need to see someone again and again make good keeper kind of choices.
Yep.
And that way, she came out to the edge of her box, you know, a few times, and you know, absolutely made the right decision and stuffed people or got a hand on it. Do you want to talk about either of those plays?
You're talking about the save that she made in the second half.
Yeah, we can talk about that one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just we could see because of the angle. It was just looked like, oh, they've missed a shot at goal. Unfortunate, how sad. Move on. But looking at the replay, it was a very good save. Won us the game. Yeah,
she just she got a body part on it, you know, a hand, and she just enough.
That's right, because Holly and I are asking, how come that's a corner? Just looked like a bad shot at goal.
I see.
I honestly thought it was going to go in. You know, and when you watch it on the broadcast as well, you know, every time you look at it, you're like, how does that not go in? So
I can't remember what the breakdown was. Like how we ended up with like a 4-on-2. But that was, you know,
because the rest of the game, like our defense was just swarming. You know, it was like we're back in numbers and just showing that we really wanted to win this. Sometimes you'd in previous games there'd be people walking back, but today, even in that heat, the defense was defense in numbers and people coming back, and that was great. We talked to Nat after the game, and you know, she said, look, because she was away, that they'd made no changes or anything like that. They had no sort of change to the original game plan or anything like that. So that's really exciting as a template. Now we've set it for the rest of the season and going forward. That, you know, that's why I'm sort of really excited for the future.
Did you mean to ask her if she enjoyed doing a pro license?
Well, I told her to have another week off, and if she's looking for another formation, just use the word scatter. Hopefully she thought that was a joke, because it was.
Yeah, obviously they've all put in the work, especially her. I mean, I'm glad they won it, but I'm also glad they won it for her because, another losing year, that's,
Yep.
it risks your job, honestly. And even though we all know that they're putting together the pieces they have, the best they can, you know, I remember there was, some drum beats around her. And listen, I'm convinced she's a very, very good coach, and she has the people around her who she feels comfortable with. And, I would be angry if they did anything to move her as a coach. Because I mean, she just proved that they finally had the tactics and the patience, and they knew how to cover for each other, and they knew how to clog up some lanes. They knew how to take the ball away from the top team in the league.
Yep. And if you were just sort of like just show somebody who's never seen a game before and just say, well, look, one of these teams is top of the league, one of the teams is bottom. You tell me after 90 minutes which team was which.
Yeah. Oh, big fan, big Nat fan.
And Foster's delivery, apart from all of her ball movement and play in open field, her set piece delivery is amazing. And that's the reason why I think she might be sort of taken overseas at some point, just for that alone. Her corner, she nearly scored from the corner directly. I think there was another one where we sort of headed it over. It's just such a weapon.
I think she's world class with her deliveries. And like, where has she been, before this year? Because she should have been, more involved in pro football.
Yeah, I'm
She was
thinking
tearing it up in the National League. That's what she was doing.
just imagine that kind of delivery with someone as tall as Grace Jale last season. How good would that be?
All right, so we've got Perth Glory coming up this coming week. Do we reckon we can get a win over them or some points over them?
So we've got 12 left. Then what am I going to ask? How many realistically out of 12 would you like to see us get? I'm thinking maybe 8. I like 8.
Yeah,
8 from 12.
Based on that performance, why not go for 12?
Yeah, I'm American, so like,
Yeah,
go for it all. Like, just get out of that wooden spoon, as you call it.
I'd like to know where they got 7 minutes extra time from. That was
Hydration breaks?
Well, they had the hydration breaks in the first half, and what was it like? It was only about 2 or 3 minutes. So if you had the equivalent hydration breaks,
they're starting to change the rules on added on time. That's what it is, because they're starting to count goal kicks and every time the ball goes out now and stuff like that. It's been under trial since the Men's World Cup, and they're starting to implement
but you can't change that partway through a season, is all. Either way, we were surprised. We were surprised that it was so long, because drinks breaks are usually 2 minutes.
From what I've read, it's going to be in most leagues, men and women, by the next cycle. So at the start of every season, I think, within the next year, I think. So like goal kicks will be counted and all that. But anyway, so yes.
I have a thing. We don't often talk about the referees. In general, I think she did a good job. I think she called fouls when there were fouls. There were, 1 or 2 against the Knicks. So, of course, as a fan, you're like, no, that was a foul. But in general, that's kind of it's nice to feel a free-flowing game. It's nice to feel, there were a couple fouls right after the halftime that were brutal. But in general, I did like the way the game was reffed compared to some of the other
I think
games.
I agree with you. When you don't have anything to say about the ref's done a great job.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about the men?
But just before we do, I just want to give a shout out to the Wynnum family. Just thinking of you guys. We'll support you any way we can. I know it's some bad news for you, but I'm thinking about you.
Nice one, Dean. So the men, so they played at Eden Park against Sydney as well. Again, don't know why they didn't make it another double header, but anyway, money, I guess. So it was 1-0 to us, and Oscar scored again, and we were even lucky to have because he was on
Yes.
trial walk at the time.
I shudder to think if we, it's funny. We just talked about a 1-0 game that was sort of joyous and magnificent, and this was a 1-0 win, but it was sort of very much the opposite. Well, not it was joyful because we got 3 points, but I'd hate to have paid for a ticket for it. But that's football, isn't it? It's you can have 3 points is 3 points. If you win 8-2, that's magnificent. But if you win 1-0 and it's a grind fest and a defense exhibition like it was yesterday, it's still 3 points, which is great to have. But as I say, I'd hate to have paid for a ticket.
They got around 8 to 10K, I heard, so that was good for all. So it kind, and on the other hand, it's kind of not good that every time they go to Auckland, they get a bigger crowd than Wellington. So that's something to worry about, I guess. With all this talk about, the Auckland being the next expansion club in this area. So, this place, I guess. But the header was really good.
Yeah, it was a great turnout. But I guess if you only get sort of 2 next games a season, you tend to fill your boots and make every effort. But yeah, hats off to the crowd, though. It was great to see, and they're singing. Eden Park doesn't seem like a good place to actually hear the crowd because there's some sort of weird echo that makes your chants all sound like everybody's sort of out of kilter. But I'm sure when you're there, it's a great sound. But the crowd looked great.
They were one thing I noticed is we were very defensive.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people were saying on the different forums and stuff that eventually this parking the bus mentality is going to keep costing us. And people don't like it. Do you like it, Dean?
It doesn't do anything for my heart, that's for sure. So it's just sitting there watching sort of like 60 minutes of us defending and absorbing. For the purist, perhaps that's great. I prefer sort of free form cavalier attacking, but look, gritty defense, and it still gets you 3 points. Yeah, so as I say, it doesn't do much for my health, but a win's a win. 3 points is great. And at the end of the day, we beat Sydney twice in a weekend with 2 separate types of tactics.
I think
Did you watch it, Hob?
Yeah.
There's a good point about having feeling like 2 very different games, although the result was the same and same number of points. I do find it a little bit, I think any fan finds it really terrifying when your team decides to park the bus, because it means that you're sort of inviting wave after wave of attack. And usually parking the bus is something you do right at the end of the game. It's not something you do for what felt like 80 minutes. I can't remember which minute Zabata scored in, but it felt like after that moment we decided to park the bus, which is, it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk. And I do feel like we do it a lot.
Yes.
But I don't know. It worked this time.
I jokingly said to a friend, I wonder if they're parking the bus because they're worried that the babies are going to come and he's going to have to run off.
Park the bus and switch your mobile phone off, and we're going to win.
Yeah. And because it's like, oh, you didn't go. And it would be quite funny.
Because straight after you score, you're probably at your most vulnerable. So I can understand consolidating for the first 4 or 5 minutes after you've scored. You don't want to concede. but it sort of seems to sort of just like a, I don't know, an infection or something like that. And you start defending like that, and then suddenly you've got sort of like, as Holly says, the rest of the 80 minutes. But yeah, I think Sydney changed their formation, and it didn't look like we were able to sort of counter whatever changes they made. Well, we countered them, I guess, successfully in a defensive kind of play. But in the second half, there was only about sort of 4 or 5 promising minutes where we actually had some good attacks, and the rest of it was just absorb, defend, and ride your luck.
What do we think of the penalty shout?
Didn't look like on the third replay.
That's what Paul Eiffel said. Yeah. I don't know. The first time I saw it, I was like, for once the team in blue hasn't. Well, we were blue and blue as well, but for once, like, you know, Sydney wasn't getting the rub of the green. We got it, but I don't know. Tim Payne says he basically didn't touch him. So,
speaking of blue, people were really upset about the colour clash again.
Look, at the end of the day, for mine, you got to pay the bills, and who pays the bills? It's usually the advertisers and the sponsors. So you've got to look after them.
Why do we keep going for the dark blue rather than the yellow?
Is it Oppo on one and Spark on the other?
I think that's what the problem is. That there's 2 different front of shirt sponsors, and they'll probably have to play in both. I just don't know why they don't save the blue for the away matches as much as possible. Like, I mean, because that would make more sense. And it was a little bit hard to tell the teams apart. Like, I know it was dark and light, but like when we, you know, the women played in the yellow and black, and it was much easier to see. But then, yeah, one of the commentators was saying, "Oh, we don't actually have a home kit. We have 2 home kits." It was very weird. It's got to be the sponsors, but it's not good. Like, at least try to wear the yellow and black at home.
It's something they really need to look into for 23-24. Anyway, any final thoughts before we go? So we've got Adelaide next, and they just went into the top 2, I believe, or something. Was it top 2 or top 3?
Yeah, Adelaide are an excellent team. They're an exciting team as well. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. Hopefully we can get some points. But it's Adelaide at Coopers. I haven't been to Coopers, but it sounds like it's a really incredible place to go. So that might be a little bit harder to play. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully a win, that would be nice.
You got anything you want to say, Denise, about anything?
Listen, I'm not an expert on the men's team, but I'm really happy for them. You know, like, it's kind of this like, there are different problems when you're trying to hit the top, right? Versus when you're starting a new team. And I'm glad that our fans, as a huge fan base, have something to cheer about with the men all season. You know, there's a lot, there is drama. The 3 players who are leaving, and it was announced before the end of the season, that just like blows my mind. I don't like, I really, that confuses me, like how that cat got out of the bag and why that cat got out of the bag. But in general, I mean, yeah, there's a great fan base there. And, you know, I love seeing Wellington and New Zealand just compete for trophies, whether it's in basketball or rugby or just football. I mean, you know, once they hit the playoffs, I'm in. I'm in 100%. You know, and I'll be one of these fair weather playoffs fans on the men's side. I know you're killing me, you know, but you only have so much time in a week, and you know, and you know, whatever. I'm just happy the club is doing very, very well on the men's side and will continue to do well. I just want to get more numbers, and I want them to play in a stadium conducive to football. And that's really my overall issue with both sides is can I get somewhere where I can see things going on? I can feel like I'm on top of it. And I don't know if there's a solution coming up for that. Eden Park, lovely place, gorgeous place, kind of still a little bit far away from the game. And but there is a bigger market, and that would just destroy Wellington Phoenix fans to move it up there, or to get another team, I think would be awesome. So I'm a cheerleader for the whole club as well.
Yeah, just before we go, the only problem is if you add another team, then you have to eventually add a women's version of that. So
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's under the new contracts or laws or whatever it is. So I think that's the sticking point of expansion. But anyway, we'll leave it there unless you've got anything else, Dean.
No, I just popped back to say goodbye.
And so we'll see you on the next one when we talk about Adelaide and Perth. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. You can see us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we'll see you on the next one.